Next up, we are going to talk about Colin Kaepernick and Charlamagne. Charlamagne does not approve of Colin Kaepernick's recent attempt to get a look by an NFL team. So, for anybody who is not aware or is not following this particular story, excuse me, Aaron Rodgers, starting quarterback for the New York Jets, tears his Achilles. He goes down. Colin Kaepernick writes this lengthy letter and addresses it to the owner of the New York Jets, asking for a tryout and a look. And basically, what Kaepernick was saying is, best case scenario, you bring me on because you feel like I can help the team. Worst case scenario is you say thanks, but no thanks, and we all move on with our lives. J. Cole, he sort of helped galvanize Kaepernick's effort by putting this letter onto his own page. So that's a little aside, in regards to that. But Charlamagne actually spoke on this because he does not approve of the fact that Kaepernick is still trying to earn a spot on an NFL roster, despite Kaepernick's lengthy history with the NFL. So first, we'll go ahead and share this. This is an article from Hot New Hip Hop. It says Charlamagne the God slams Colin Kaepernick for Jets letter, quote, pathetic. Charlamagne the God called out Colin Kaepernick during an episode of The Breakfast Club earlier this week. In doing so, he labeled the former NFL star's letter to the New York Jets downright pathetic. Kaepernick reached out to the organization for a chance to play on their practice squad in the wake of Aaron Rodgers' Achilles injury. Quote, I wish that letter was never written, he said on the show. That letter was tragically sad and downright pathetic. Colin Kaepernick has let his setback become his identity, and I hate that for him. It pains me to see that man still begging to be in a league that he called racist and he compared to a plantation. So those are some of Charlamagne's brief comments, but we'll also play a clip of Charlamagne saying some of this stuff. So check this out. This is a screen share from Marca TV. So here's Charlamagne voicing his displeasure over Kaepernick writing that letter to the Jets organization.
Fair use.
Fair use indeed.
Charlamagne.
That letter was never written. That letter was tragically sad and downright pathetic. Colin Kaepernick has let his setback become his identity, and I hate that for him. God exalted Colin Kaepernick into a position of leadership in regard to activism, and it pains me to see that man still begging to be in a league that he called racist and compared to a plantation. And I hate that he can never speak for himself. He always got somebody else speaking for him or putting out his messaging for him. That's so whack to me. I wish Colin the best in all his endeavors, but just begging, these same people you called racist for an opportunity is pitiful.
I just don't like it.
Pitiful.
I'd rather him go to, what's the other league that they created? The XFL league or any other league. But the fact that they boxed him out, they don't want him in the league. Like, that's clear.
Very clear. And I asked earlier in the room, like, how good of a football player was he? Because the way that they just threw him out after all that, you would think that he was good. I heard he was
It
good.
don't even matter. It's been 7 years, and God exalted Colin Kaepernick into a position of leadership.
Now understand.
Literally.
All right, that's enough. So, and I don't know who that girl is that they got on there. I don't really watch the Breakfast Club like that, but do your research. Like, you don't even know if he was good or not. Like, jeez. But yeah, Charlamagne don't like it, and of course he was co-signed by Envy. So what were your thoughts on those comments?
I mean, it's rare. I mean, it's not really rare to disagree with Charlamagne. I agree with him, honestly, on a lot of things. He's just, to me, still a jackass. But in this context, I do agree with him here. I do think it's pathetic. I do think he needs to cut it out. My whole thing is, how feasible is this? Even if they do say, yeah, you're signed, you've been out of the league, they say 7 years. The league is a moving train, bro. It is a moving train, and you haven't gone anywhere. You're not keeping up with this locomotive. And for you to just try to hop on this moving train, boy, you're gonna hurt yourself. Honestly, I think it'll embarrass yourself. So playing in the NFL is not a joke. Those are some supreme athletes. And so even if this was a realistic thing, I still don't think it would work due to the fact of him being so far removed from the game. I mean, he's missed so much. The whole angle of him calling the NFL, racist and a plantation, in which it is. Yeah, it is what it is. He wants his job back. I don't know what job you work for. I'm not talking about you, but anybody.
You're right, yeah.
But most likely at the top, there might be somebody up there that's a racist. And most likely they're running that Fortune 500 company or whatever company as a plantation. Rent don't stop. Bills don't stop. People need income. Now, most people who would say that their job is whatever X, Y, and Z, they would still report. They're still applying for another plantation job with higher, wages and, better benefits. So there's a lot of people hopping on plantation to plantation and, slave owner to slave owner, if you will, and they don't get down with racism. So that angle so much is kind of like, who really cares about that so much? But I think the big part about it, what Charlamagne's getting at, is him making such a big stink about all of this on such a public platform. And like how he said, God exalted him into a position of leadership. Bro, you don't need to be a quarterback for an NFL team anymore. Actually, being a leader and the civil rights activist and all that other stuff supersedes athleticism. But I don't know where his mind at, in order to throw a football or somebody who's dribbling a basketball or something like that, you can have more impact outside of the game than playing a sport. And especially if the reason why you don't play that sport anymore is because institutional racism and all these other things combined was so obviously against you that you now have a whole life, career, and brand that you can go and run with. So for him to, in air quotes, turn his back on that and to try to play in a league year after year, like, I'm getting tired of this. And for him to write this letter, to me, I thought it was kind of bogus. J. Cole, I guess he tried the whole Caleb Martin for the Heat thing, and hey, I got some industry pull, so let me try to see if I can work some mojo. Hey, even J. Cole, like, I still think all of that's pretty low. I'm not really a fan of none of that. But how do you feel about this? Do you agree with Charlamagne the God, or do you believe that he's blowing smoke here?
Yeah, I'm largely with Charlamagne and with you for that matter. See, the problem with what Kaepernick did is, and I said this when it happened way back in, what was that, 2017, when it originally happened. I felt as though the strategy was ineffective, but I don't blame him, because here's the thing with him. I don't think he thought this thing through. Like, the thing with Kaepernick is Kaepernick himself never was protesting the NFL. He was protesting societal injustice. He was using the NFL stage to do it on. And it kind of ended up blowing up in his face, because the ensuing narrative was a conflation of societal injustice and the NFL. And people had huge issues with that. And as a result, he was ostracized. I really do think that if you sit him down and you ask him if he had it all over to do it again, would he have done it different? He would admit that he would do it differently. I don't really think he thought it through. I don't disagree with what he was doing, but the thing about it is, you didn't have an issue with your employer, but he didn't think about the fact that other people would interpret what he was doing as having an issue with his employer. And so as a result, he sort of became a pariah. And then he was, like, offhandedly blackballed by the NFL. Not necessarily because the NFL, even though I do agree with you, I think the NFL is rooted in certain aspects that are tantamount to being a modern day plantation. But so is the majority of the working
Right.
structure of capitalism,
Right.
especially in America. So the NFL is no different than any other institution that you or I work for. It's no different than any other Fortune 500 company. It's
Right.
no different. Like that, it's all the same. So I agree with you in principle on that front, but he wasn't necessarily saying the NFL is about this. He was just saying, let's call attention to this in the world. But he became a pariah because people interpreted what he was doing as calling the NFL racist per se, and people don't like that because they love their NFL. And what the owners did was they said, "Hey, bro, you're bad for business and my money, so I can't have you here because I can't jeopardize my billion-dollar organization."
Exactly.
So he was blackballed not because they were colluding to get rid of him because of his beliefs. He was blackballed because he was bad for money, bad for business. These people don't care about this stuff. They just don't want you to hurt their bottom line. If they perceive you as an individual who can hurt their money, you're done. That's it. No one is above that. Nobody, himself included. So he didn't think that all the way through. And because he didn't think it all the way through, he found himself on the outside looking in. But in his heart of heart, he truly doesn't have a problem with the NFL. He really doesn't. He doesn't. Now, him calling it a plantation and calling the NFL racist was definitely a result of his frustration over the aftermath of what happened. But I personally do not believe that he really does feel that type of way about the NFL, or at least he didn't back then. Maybe he does now. Who knows? But I think that this has all been a result of an ill-employed strategy on his part. And because he's aware that it was an ill-employed strategy, he's now trying to curry favor and make these attempts to get back in. But bro, you can't call people racist to their face and expect them to just let you back in like that. Like, good luck with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, all of the in racisms and love crap that they put on the field and on the back of helmets ain't gonna be enough to get you back in there when you basically spat in these dudes' faces, which is kind of what he did. So you kind of reap what you sow in that regard. And the thing about it is, where Charlamagne comes in, and I do agree, and you also made a point to mention this as well. Yeah, bro, you might just have a higher calling. So in lieu of you having this higher calling, it doesn't behoove you to grovel to be on a practice squad for a losing franchise, no less. Like, you're making yourself look worse. You know, like, you really got to look at people. And I brought her up before, and I'm going to bring her up again because she did it the right way. Maya Moore was willing to make the sacrifice, and she did. Kaepernick clearly was unwilling. He was not aware that he'd be making a sacrifice. And now that he has inadvertently made said sacrifice, he wants to undo what he did so he can get back in and play again. Bro, it don't work that way. So now you need to take a cue from Maya Moore's book and just go full board with your activism. Maya Moore quit her WNBA career in the prime of her career, winning championships and MVPs to actually try and make a difference out here in the world. And she ain't going back. So, like, you need to understand that maybe this is what your lane is now. But writing letters to owners to play on the practice squad for a losing franchise, frankly, at this point, is beneath you. And it does make you look bad, especially given the fact that what you did initially, in my eyes, was a poorly instituted strategy. So I kind of feel like he needs to just let it go. Because he's not doing himself any favors at this point, bro. You did what you did, and then you want to write your book, and then you want to sue the NFL. They settled with you, and you called them a slave. You called them slave owners, and you called them plantation, and yet you still trying to play. Like, that don't make no sense. It doesn't make sense, bro. Like, I can't go to my employer, sue him, call him racist, and then say, "Hey, bro, can I get my job back?" Like, where do they do that? Where do they do that? That's not on planet Earth. That's not how this happens. So, hey, man, look, do your thing. Be an activist. Embrace where you are in your life. It's beneath you at this point to do what you did. It was a bad strategy. Own up to that. You learn your lesson. You'll know how to do it in the future. But hey, this is what it is, man. So, fat chance. I don't think it's going to work. You're 7 years removed and you're in your mid-30s. Even quarterbacks who didn't have a layoff fall off at that point. And you're somebody who hasn't even played on a field and you still acting like you can contribute, bro, fat chance. Just move on.
Bro, 100%. And I don't know if he's trying to play an angle of, look, y'all, they're still blackballing me. Look, man, I'm still capable. But there's such a media circus around him. I remember, was that last season or the season before? Because it's every year with this garbage. And he was out there practicing and just showing that he doing all his pro day type stuff and whoop. And it's just like, bro, like, what are you doing? What is this? So it's every year with this garbage. He keeps this thing up, but I think there's this weird thing because he still has a lot of supporters. And there's this thing of, see, they're keeping Cap out of the league because they racist. Right. And and so every year he has to come and remind us about how racist the NFL is because they're not letting him in. Bro, this ain't Tom Brady of the NFL. This ain't LeBron James of the NBA. All right, this ain't Messi of soccer. All right, or football for my internationals. All right, nah, bro. He was Colin Kaepernick, a mid-level at best quarterback who got a little hot, a little steamed up in a great offense, and yet to be scouted. As soon as he started getting scouted and this tape out on him, his numbers weren't the same. And so then all of a sudden he's starting to kneel and all this other stuff, and then he's out of the league, but his heyday was a blip on a radar, much like any other young person who's young and there's no tape out on him yet. So he had himself a good season in a good system. And so, but I mean, coming from Nevada, from all schools, he was not highly touted. He's not really good. He was just running.
Yeah.
So he was not a good quarterback. So sorry, the league don't need you. But I had brought this point up last time we had brought up this, Kaepernick situation is that, this is a job. So, and I brought this up with John Morant. Bro, these leagues don't need you. They don't. I mean, they would like to have you, but they don't need you. And they will cut ties for the sake of the league. And the reason why I brought up his little pro day thing is because there's such a media circus whenever he's doing anything. So if he signs with the team, here come all these questions dug up from 2017 and all this other stuff. Now he's got to sit there and say, hey, injustice and they don't want to give me football. The league just want to get football, football and making money. And that ain't making money. So noble cause initially, all that other stuff initially, nobody's hating on none of that. We just talking about the perceivable, doubling back on your words, the perceivable, looking like you're groveling at the feet of the same people that you called oppressors. Now, if you want to sit there and be a leader, then lead in a new direction. Don't go back to the people that put you in such an, messed up position. So I don't like this. I don't care for it. And it seems weak. So hopefully he rebrands himself after all of this garbage, and then actually step into activism. All right. Maybe go do that. Because honestly, bro, you created a whole career path specifically for that. The whole world saw it. That's on your resume. And honestly, if it's not some SJW company or some new age progressive thing, bro, that's the lane you need to be in, man. So just go be a social justice warrior and collect all of this money from nonprofit organizations. But NFL dreams, kick rocks.
Yeah, absolutely. Just, you'll get your donations and you'll get your cash apps and your Patreons, man. But that's kind of where you need to be. And it's like, you can't have your cake and eat it too. Like, stop trying to force your way into a situation, but then on the back end claim that they don't want you a part of that situation. If you really wanted to play again, then what was that, last year or 2 years ago, they held a workout for you. The league put that on and you decided you were going to buck that and go and hold your own workout somewhere at a high school field instead of just doing what the league, like the NFL did. Like they held a workout for this dude at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, I think is what it's called, or the arena in Atlanta. And at the last minute, he said, nah, I ain't about that. I'm going to do this myself. I guess it's people these days really be trying too hard to have their cake and eat it too. Bro, you're not bigger than the NFL. You're not going to be this beacon for social justice and then at the same time and call your own shots but then still have your workout and get your job. Get out of here. If you really wanted the job bad enough, you would have went to that workout where all of those teams were and just held the workout there. You bucked on that and went to a high school field where the NFL wasn't even there, with some dude in your team holding an iPhone camera, and that's where we got to see all your throws. So yeah, I just look, man, take a cue from Maya Moore, bro. That she needs to be your role model right now, Kaepernick. Seriously, because she's doing what you ought to be doing at this point, because it really is beneath you at this point to grovel for a job or a position on a practice squad of a losing. The Jets are not going to the playoffs.
No,
Okay.
not.
You're groveling to be on the practice squad for the Jets. Right now, you're not better than what's that boy name that they got out there right now? What's that boy name? Zach
Wilson.
Zach Wilson.
Zach
You ain't
Wilson.
better than him. Kaepernick's
Zach
not better than him right now. You know?
He's not.
So it's like, hey man, fat chance, bro. You know, embrace your current lane and just stick with that, because that's where you need to be.
Yep, 100, bro. So if he's not just going to be turning around and just handing it off or acting as a battering ram on gadget plays, I don't really see him leading a team anywhere. So, you know, I don't care for none of this. So good luck, Mr. Kaepernick, whatever you do. Hopefully, you know, you smell the roses, man, and step into the light that you were called to step into. So
yeah,
good luck, bro.
Yeah, for sure. It's over, man. It's over. Jim Harbaugh ain't walking through that door, bro.
Nah, not this time.
Oh.